Hi there, and welcome to Lost in Literature. We'll be continuing with Act 2, Scene 1, Part 2. We finished Part 1 last time. It's a fairly long scene. So, like I told you, I have broken it up into uh, bits. I've kind of taken up sections of it. And today, again, I'm going to take up a fairly long piece. So, some of the talks that are not very relevant, I'll just be glossing over it and concentrating mainly on the exchange between Brutus and Cassius. And now, in this part, you will find that Cassius is very much in awe of Brutus. And Brutus is able to overrule some of the decisions taken, suggested by Cassius. And he totally takes up the reins of the project in his hands. He becomes the leader of the conspirators. You'll see that shift in the power dynamics. All right, so let's start. Where we left off, you had a whole lot of conspirators knocking on Brutus's door early in the morning, and Lucius has let them in. So there they are coming in, and Cassius says, "I think we are too bold upon your rest. Good morrow, Brutus. Do we trouble you?" Look at him, very respectful approach. And he's kind of he's kind of looking up on Brutus, right? He has um, this admiration for Brutus. He's in awe of him. Brutus, I've been up this hour, awake all night. Know I these men that come along with you? So a whole lot of them have come in. And Brutus says, do I know these men? Because if you remember, they were all wearing these hats pulled pretty low over their forehead, and they were also covering their faces with cloaks. They did not want their identities to be revealed. So Brutus says, "Do I know these men?" So Cassius says, "Yes, every man of them, and no man here but honors you. You know all of them, and all of them truly honor you, respect you. And everyone doth wish you had but that opinion of yourself which every noble Roman bears of you." So he says, all of them have a very good opinion about you, and they wish that you also did not underestimate yourself, but had such an opinion of yourself, and that would be necessary, for them to carry on with their act of assassination, because they would need Brutus's support. And then, of course, he's introducing each of them, and thus we get to know the names of a number of them, like Trebonius, Casca, Cinna, Metellus etc. And this is followed by a kind of conversation among these conspirators, because Cassius and Brutus have withdrawn to a corner of the stage, and they are whispering to each other. All right, so the rest of the conspirators are just talking among themselves, about where the sun rises, etc. But what is to be noted here is the fact that they mention the Capitol, the Senate House, and it's on the way to the Senate House that they plan to murder Caesar. All right. Now, um, the next bit, I'll be taking it up in quite a bit of detail because this is where Brutus overrules Cassius. All right? And actually, all the decisions taken by Cassius are pretty shrewd ones because um, he has the the kind of mentality a crafty schemer needs. But that is not the case with Brutus. He's truly noble, and if at all he is going ahead in helping out with the assassination of Caesar, it is because he really believes that Rome needs to be saved. So let's see what's going on here. So Brutus now uh, and Cassius, they've come back after their private consultation with each other. And now Brutus says, give me your hands all over, one by one. So Cassius says now firmly, let us swear our resolution. Let it be a formal oath. Then Brutus says, no, not an oath. First instance of overruling Cassius. He says, we don't need an oath. If not the face of men, the sufferance of our soul, the time's abuse. If these be motives weak, break off betimes, and every man hence to his idle bed. So he says, look, the very troubled expression on the faces of men and the anguish they are suffering in their soul because of the expected tyranny of Caesar's rule and the the evil of prevailing times, the misuse of power that's going to happen. These things are reason enough for motivation. And if men are weak and these things are not going to urge these men, then it is better they just go to their bed and allow tyranny to rule over them till each man drop by lottery, till each man drops dead on account of the whims of the tyrant, and that is Caesar here. But if these, as I'm sure they do, but if these men, I'm sure they do, bear fire enough to kindle cowards and to steal with valor the melting spirit of women, then, countrymen, what need we? Any spur but our cause. So he says, if these men are motivated enough, are filled with fire enough to motivate weaker men than them, and in fact, women, even women, with the need of the times, then why do we need any oath at all? Our motivation is more than enough, and that is enough to uh, rectify the times, to set right the evils of the times. And then he goes on, what other bond than secret Romans that have spoke the word and will not palter? So he says, what other formal commitment do we need than the trust of each Roman in this secret plan of ours to assassinate Caesar? Each of us who have given our word here, and we will not deceive, we will not let one another down by betraying a secret to others. And what other oath than honesty to honesty, engaged that this shall be, or we will fall for it? What more do we need than our honest intention and our bond, commitment with one another to end tyranny with the killing of Caesar? Or if we fail in the attempt, we will perish together. Then he goes on to say, swear priests and cowards and men courtiers, old feeble carrions, and such suffering souls that welcome wrongs. He says only people like priests and cowardly men and men who cannot be trusted, courtiers, crafty, cunning men who are going to betray, and people who are as useless as dead bodies, all right? And people, suffering souls, people who are willing to tolerate evil. Only such people will welcome the wrongdoings of others. All right? In this case, again, Caesar's tyranny. Such creatures as men doubt, but do not stain the even virtue of our enterprise. All right? Now, only feeble men, weak men, cowardly men need to prove their suspicious, deceptive commitment to a cause by swearing, but definitely not men of our caliber. All right? Because we are not going to spoil, stain the goodness of our enterprise, of our endeavor, even to think that our or our cause or our performance need an oath. It's ridiculous of us even to think that we need an oath when each of us are so committed to saving Rome, when every drop of blood that every Roman bears, and he nobly bears, is guilty of a several bastardy. Now, our blood will, a noble blood will become guilty of a very base act if we even break the smallest bit of the promise that each of us have made to this cause. All right? So there is no need to swear any oath. And Cassius says, but, all right, now Cassius has actually accepted. And now he has something else to come up with. He says, what about Cicero? Shall we sound him? I think he'll stand very strong with us. Then Casca says, oh no, let's not leave him out. And Cinna also agrees, no, by no means. And Metellus says, let's have him for his silver hair, for his wisdom, which will purchase us good opinion. Now, on account of his presence with us, our act will be considered noble and will win us the good opinion of the commoners. It shall be said that his judgment ruled our hands. All right? Our youths and wildness shall no whit appear, but all will be buried in his gravity. Our deed, our bloody deed, in fact, will be elevated to the status of something noble if we have the wise Cicero with us. Again, Brutus rules him out. All right? Brutus says, "Oh, name him not. Let's not break with him, for he will never follow anything that other men begin." Promptly, Cassius says, "Leave him out." "Indeed, he is not fit," says Casca. Decius says, "Shall no man else be touched, but only Caesar?" Now, that is the next point that has been taken up by Decius. Are we going to kill only Caesar? Then Cassius says, "Decius, that is a very good point you brought up. I think it is not suitable that Mark Antony, so well beloved of Caesar, should outlive Caesar. Yes, we have to do away with Mark Antony because he truly loves Caesar. We shall find of him a shrewd contriver. He is a very shrewd man, and he will stand by Caesar. And God knows what he will do, because it was well known that Antony was a good orator. And you know his means, you know his resources, and if he improves them, may well stretch so far as to annoy us all. And if he uses his resources, it may really put us in a bad light. Which to prevent, let Antony and Caesar fall together. Again, Brutus. All right. Of course, Brutus has to protest. He's not for this killing of, every other person. All right? Yes, Caesar has to be killed because he's convinced that he's going to be quite a despot in the future. All right? If they give him power. But now Brutus says, "Our course will seem too bloody, case Cassius, to cut the head off and then hack the limbs like wrath and death and envy afterwards." He says, "Come on, our act will seem far too bloody, Cassius, that we cut the head of Caesar and then after that we start hacking every leg. Once you've cut the head, you've done it. The main, person is removed. Now, why do we have to cut the rest of his body, carve him up like that?" So he says, and that is when we will be showing that we are angry and we are doing it for personal reasons, and we don't have personal reasons. We are only trying to save Rome. So let's just stick to Caesar. All right? Let's be sacrificers, but not butchers. So we'll sacrifice Caesar for the sake of Rome, but let's not be, butchers, incensed butchers. Chaos. We all stand up against the spirit of Caesar. And in the spirit of men, there is no blood. All right? So he says, we are standing against the spirit of Caesar, the kind of man he is and what he will probably do to Rome when he has power. And the spirit of men, it just doesn't contain any blood. There is no blood in it. The spirit is one thing and the body is another. Oh, then that we could come by Caesar's spirit and not dismember Caesar. If only we could just kill his body, all right? And not really harm Caesar at all. I wish we could do that. Just finish off his body. All right? No, I'm sorry. If only we could take care of his spirit and not harm his body. If we could do that, then we needn't have murdered him, right? Because the spirit of Caesar is one thing, his body is another. It is a spirit that is drunk on tyranny. So, if we could remove his spirit, then there would have been no need for us to kill him. But alas, that is not the case. The body and spirit go together, and Caesar must bleed for it. We have to kill him. And, gentle friends, let's kill him boldly. Let's be confident in what we are doing. We are not doing anything wrong. But let's not do it wrathfully. Let's not do it with anger, with the passion of hate. No, that's not the way to go about it. You see, there is nobility in this man, Brutus. He's truly ready to kill Caesar only because he believes Caesar can harm Rome. So he says, let's carve him as a dish fit for gods. Let's offer him as a religious sacrifice, and let's not cut him up like a carcass, like a dead body fit for dogs, hounds. And let our hearts, as subtle masters do, stir up their servants to an act of rage, and after seem to chide them. So he says, let's not be hypocritical about it, like masters who will urge their servants to do wrong deeds and then pretend to scold them for it. This shall make our purpose necessary and not envious. This will prove that what we did was the right thing to do, and it was not a crime of passion, with so appearing to the common eyes. All right? This shall make our purpose necessary and not envious, and that is how it will appear to the commoners. We shall be called purgers. We would have purged, cleansed Rome of tyranny, all right, of despotism. Not murderers, then we won't be called murderers. And for Mark Antony, oh please don't think of him, for he can do no more than Caesar's arm when the head is cut off. What is Mark Antony? Nothing compared to Caesar. What's he going to do? Nothing at all. Then Cassius says, raise a little protest. Yet I fear him, Antony, for in the ingrafted love he bears to Caesar, he has a deep-rooted love for Caesar. So I am a little scared of him. Then Brutus says, alas, good Cassius, don't think of him. If he loves Caesar, all that he can do is to himself take thought and die for Caesar. If he really loved Caesar that much, then he would also sacrifice himself because his friend was dead. And that were much he should. All right? And that would be too much to expect from him, that he would kill himself because he's really given to sports, to wildness, to adventure and company. And he loves people. And so he's not even the kind of person who's going to die for Caesar. So why are you fearing him? His commitment to Caesar is not that deep like you imagine. This is not very perceptive of Brutus, because later on we see Mark Antony rising up and literally starting a civil war. All right? Then now Trebonius says, okay, there is no fear in him. Let him not die, for he will live and laugh at this hereafter. Brutus, peace, count the clock. And Cassius says, now it's 3 o'clock. Trebonius says it's time to part. Then Cassius, but it is doubtful yet. One more doubt. whether Caesar will come forth today or not to the Senate House, because he has become very superstitious of late. And he's different from the kind of Caesar he was long back, very logical and very practical in his attitude. But these days, he he's quite he is, yeah, for his superstitious grown of late, quite from the main opinion he held once of fantasy, of dreams and ceremonies. All right, he never bothered about fantasies and dreams and ceremonies earlier, but now he may consider these things on account of the terror of this particular night and the things that are happening and the warning of the soothsayers. So he may not come to the capital. Then Decius says, no, don't fear that, because if he be so resolved, I can influence him and bring him to the capital, because he loves to hear things like, that unicorns may be betrayed with trees, they can be trapped, all right, by trees, they can be fooled, bears with glasses, elephants can be trapped with holes, lions with nets, toils, nets, and men with flatterers, but not Caesar. He's not going to be trapped like any of these people by flattery. So, when he says that, that is when he's most flattered. So he says, I'm going to flatter him thus. I'm going to tell him, oh no, he's not going to be, he's not a man who will listen to flattery or any of these things. And I will take it upon me to bring him to the Senate House. Then Cassius tells him, no, no, that's not necessary, and all of us will come to fetch him. So that is it, and we have one more part in scene one of this particular act. I hope this is making a lot of sense to you, because let's think about it. I mean, I think I'm beginning to like Julius Caesar. It's wonderful plotting of a political assassination. Let's see whether these people, the conspirators, succeed or not. And if you like my channel, do hit a like and subscribe to it. And I'll see you again with the final part of this scene. Bye for now.